Welcome to the Technical Capstone Course for the Masters of Legal Studies at Cleveland State University. In this course, we're going to be doing something really cool. We're going to be working with the Ohio Cyber Range Institute's virtual cyber range. So if you remember in Cyber 1, you downloaded Kali Linux and you put it on a little USB drive, and we used that to run tests. And it worked just fine, and it was a great way to get to learn Kali Linux and play around with it, but at the same time, it was a little clunky. And in this class, we're not only going to have access to a virtual machine with Kali Linux built on it, we're going to have access to a series of other machines that we can actually test for like a little makeshift make-believe network in the cloud at OCRI, and that we can run tests against all those different virtual machines. So it's this wonderful resource that the state of Ohio provides us for education, and it's just fantastic that they've made this available to us. So when you log into the cyber range with the credentials I provided you, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. Now, a lot of different browsers work with the cyber range, but Firefox seems to work the best. So I'd recommend downloading Firefox and using Firefox for this class, at least for the labs component of this class. And the first thing you do when you log in is you're going to see this catalog page. And the catalog page are all the virtual environments that you have access to. And you're probably only going to see this one, Cleveland State Ethical Hacking. We're not using any other virtual environments in this class. And so you actually don't need the catalog right now, because the catalog is actually how you would deploy a virtual environment, and your environment is already pre-deployed. So you can hop up here to this top menu bar and click on deployments, and you should see a screen that looks like this. And again, you probably only have this one deployed, and go ahead and click on it. And so there's some things to pay attention to. This is going to be your main sandbox page for working through these labs. And so the first thing I want you to pay attention to is that you have these guys over here on the left. And so the first 6 of these are actual virtual machines that we're going to be using to run labs. And these 3 components down here are sort of related to networking and aren't going to be a part of this class. So you don't have to pay so much attention to those, but we're going to be working a lot with these 6 machines up here. You can see some of them have this little red square because they're off. And then some of them have this little green triangle, meaning that they're currently on. And I'm going to show you now how to turn those on and off and play with them. So the first thing we want to do is, and actually when you log in for the first time, they're all going to be on, and that's fine. The first thing I want you to do after you log in is go ahead and just turn them all off, because we only want certain ones on for certain labs. And so to turn off a virtual machine, if you go over here to the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see this little gear, this little settings tab, which has a bunch of drop downs, right? And this settings gear will travel with you to all the different virtual machines you have access to. And so this one currently is powered on. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn that off. And so if you click that little down caret, you'll see lots of different options. And the one I want you to pay attention to now is power off. We're just going to power off this machine, and we're going to get this pop-up window, and we're going to hit submit. And so this machine is in process for powering off. And there's a little quirk to the system. You'll see that the gear has disappeared. And so that means you can't take any action on any other of these machines while this machine over here is powering off. And so I know that it's in progress because I have this little in progress indicator up here. I have the power off request has been successfully submitted, and now we're in wait and see. So if you were to just kind of sit around and do nothing and stare at the screen, you'd be staring for a long time, because this page doesn't automatically refresh. You need to go ahead and click the refresh button. And after a period of time, this usually takes about 30 seconds to power on and off a machine. So I'm clicking refresh, and it's still in progress, so it hasn't completed yet, and so we're gonna probably have to wait another 10 or 15 seconds to get that to work. And another place you can look at, in addition to this little in progress indicator, is you can click on history here, which will show you all the actions you've taken in your virtual environment, and how we're still waiting on this guy over here, this little eye, to wrap up. And so let's go ahead and click refresh again and see if it worked. And I'm optimistic it did. And so not only does it not show in progress anymore, not only does history show that this was successful, we have our little gear back. And so we can go ahead and we can start taking action with these virtual machines. So to power on a virtual machine, it's kind of the same process. So this top one here is your actual Kali Linux distribution. It's going to look a little bit different than the version that we worked with in In Cyber 1, it's a slightly older version that's part of this lab, and it doesn't have all the same bells and whistles, but it's perfectly functional. And so again, click the down arrow, and you have a limited number of options since this machine is currently powered off. We're going to click power on, and we're going to go ahead and obviously wait again our 15 seconds or so while this is in progress. And just again to remind you, you're going to lose your gear to do anything. You got to kind of sit around and wait for this guy to finish up. And then in history, if you went over to history, you'd see that this is still, little I is in progress. And to get it again, to remind you, you have to click refresh to see if it has finally finished up. We are still in progress on this, so we're going to wait another 10 to 15 seconds or so and try again. But yeah, it usually doesn't take that long. So while we're waiting for this machine to power up, I do want to show you something else. So if, let's say you're messing around with these machines, and this is one of the great things about a virtual environment, right? You can't break this, at least not permanently. You can do anything you want to these machines. You can go change code, you could go rewrite programs. It doesn't matter, because if you break something, all you have to do is go over to actions, click on destroy. Destroy takes 10 or 15 minutes, but it's the same concept. You click on that, you let it do its thing, and then after this has been successfully destroyed, you can go over to catalog and you can relaunch. And so you can click request. You can follow the menu items that pop up. Just reason for requests. You're only ever going to have one deployment. Click submit, and then it will redeploy your entire lab environment for you. And so we're not going to be really doing anything in class that's going to break any of these VMs, but if you want to play around, that's perfectly fine, because we can always relaunch your environment, and we can do it all day long, as much as you need to get through the class. And so I bet if I go up here and click refresh, we are going to be good to go. Yep, I got my gear back. We can start doing some stuff. This is powered on. And so again, the first thing I want you to do when you log into this environment is just go through this process and shut them all down. You can see it's going to take a while, right? You gotta come here, and you gotta click the gear, and you gotta find the power off, and you gotta click the power off, and then you gotta refresh, and you wait. It's going to take a little bit. It'll probably take 15-20 minutes for you to get through all of them, but just go ahead and power all those machines down, because again, we're going to be bringing up certain machines for the specific labs we're going to be working on. So, all right, now that we have the Kali Linux machine powered on, we need to connect to it. And so you have two options for connecting to this machine. We can connect to remote console. This is probably the easiest way to do this. I would just recommend, unless you're having just horrible internet problems, just go ahead and connect to this. This connects via the browser, via Firefox is again recommended, and it works great. It's just a little bit slow, but it's probably the easiest way to do it. You can also connect through VMRC. This VMRC is essentially a program you download that's going to run components of your virtual machine locally. It does speed things up. It is a much more reliable connection. So if you're having just huge internet problems and you can't get the range to work, let me know and I'll walk you through the steps of setting up VMRC. But for now, just go ahead and try to connect to remote console. And remember, this is a virtual environment. This has no impact on your own personal computer. You absolutely cannot break this. So just don't be intimidated by all these different options. Click anything you want. You're really not going to hurt anything. All right, so we are connecting to the remote console, which takes a little bit of time depending on your internet connection, and you have a username and password that's in the labs that you can that you'll use to access the virtual environment. And because it's browser based, you can see it's a little weird. It takes a little second to self organized, but you're gonna have your own username and password that you'll use to log into this machine, and that's that's provided in the labs, so you'll be able to see that. All right, and once you log in, again, takes a little bit. It's not instantaneous. It's but it's reasonably quick. You'll see that Kali Dragon that you know and love from Cyber 1. And again, this is it's a little streamlined, so it's not going to have quite the same number of bells and whistles that you had in Cyber 1. But you can see this is going to look really familiar to you from Cyber 1, and so you can pop open that drop-down menu and you can see all the different options and tools that we're going to be using throughout this class. And when you're done, with your virtual machine, you can kind of go over here to the power button. You can come over here and you can hit just like that. We're just going to power off this machine. And we are done. And then once that's powered off, you can close this out. It's still going to show powered up over here. So, when you're done, you can go ahead and submit the power off button for your virtual machine there. And, that is pretty much all you need to know to get started. And of course, it's me, so please feel free to hit me up with questions. Text message is always best to at least to get started until we can set up something on the phone. But again, this is just going to be a really safe, really fun way to play around with Kali Linux in a much more robust way than we did in Cyber One, where we were just getting introduced to it on USB stick. So it's going to be a ton of fun, and please just remember, it's a little bit weird getting used to maneuvering around a virtual sandbox environment if you've never done it before, but you can't break anything. So just feel free to click away. It doesn't matter. You're not going to hurt anything. Just have fun and learn these labs.
This tutorial was prepared by the Center for Cybersecurity and Privacy Protection at Cleveland Marshall College of Law, Cleveland State University.